Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyard channel. My name is Charisma and today we are meeting in the garden and we're going to take a little walk around our backyard and our lower garden. There's some big changes that happened in the lower garden in the last month. We are on the Oregon coast in a zone 9A and it is October and I cannot believe how many things are still blooming beautifully. We've had an extended fall season, beautiful weather, and we look at these impatiens. Can you believe that? They're absolutely gorgeous still, which is just such a blessing because typically by this time of year we've had so much rain that all the blossoms have kind of like turned into brown, mushy, moldy things and we're cutting everything down, but not this year. So I'm really excited to show you what's blooming. Lots of dahlias, beautiful impatiens, and more. Well, I figure we may as well start right here with these impatiens. Are these not just absolutely stunning? I mean, what? They're so tall. I would say they're like 18 to 22 inches tall, depending. There's a hosta down in here. There's 3 hostas in here. And they got completely gobbled up by these beautiful impatiens. These are a no brand, just big box store flat of impatiens that we stuffed in this raised bed, and I could not be more happy. Up on the deck right behind it, we do have some really sweet pink geraniums growing, and these ballerina slipper fuchsias. They're just absolutely the sweetest. Of course, their leaves are starting to do their fall thing, but really, really fun. All right, then our pond is looking great. We revamped this pond this summer, and things are looking good. Again, the impatient is just blooming its head off. The hosta is done blooming, but still looking pretty good for this late in the fall. Surprisingly good. Let's go ahead and pop up to these porch baskets because I removed all of our annuals except for these because look at them. They're just so pretty still. And they are finally starting to show that this is slug. That shiny bit is slugs. This is the Blue Moon Super Bells, and then these are the Cherry Stars, and they're loving this cool weather. So of course I left them. This one has the Cardinal Star and the Cherry Red, which Cherry Red often is not very happy in my garden. The red flowers will often turn brown, but you could see that there's some budworm damage on there. But overall, for this late in the fall, to have this many blooms is amazing. We have some snapdragons still opening up. As a matter of fact, I cut them all back and we've got snapdragons getting ready to pop open everywhere. Just a quick overview of the backyard. You'll notice my dahlia patch is still full of color. And then we've got our cannas that have been blooming. This is the only one showing any color right now, but really fun. Let's go ahead. We'll pop over into the moon garden since we can. This is my moon garden, and this year we focused on black and white foliage and flowers. You can see we've got some birch leaves to clean up, but the geraniums and the begonias are still blooming. The bruala is still blooming. The double up white begonias are starting to stretch. And the Dusty Miller is definitely declining. You can see the Dusty Miller. Looks pretty sad at this point. We have the Black Prince snapdragons that we grew from seed, still looking very robust. We've got Diachondra Silver Falls all throughout the garden, still looking nice. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see that this balloon flower perennial has amazing fall color. I had no idea. So that was a fun surprise. In the main area here, still Archangel ground cover, but we still have hostas up out of the ground, which is shocking. And these impatiens. Can you even believe these impatiens? Look at them. Well, these are the sun patients, the white sun patients. Just phenomenal. I do not deadhead these. I haven't fertilized in over a month, and they are just like so happy still. The baskets are both the same with this angel wing and double up begonia. Got some, you know, fall stuff going on, but mostly still looking really beautiful. I can't believe it's October and things look so good still. This was a new addition this year, and the moss is growing in. This was Rip City Dahlia, and I got 2, maybe 3 blooms off of it, which is pretty good for its first year. And then this Cafe au Lait, I've gotten like 6 or 7 dahlias off of that one for its first year. It's pretty phenomenal. Again, with the Black Prince snapdragons, some Dusty Miller, and these pincushion flowers are like 5+ foot tall. It's crazy. And then we still have a little bit of flower going on with the Himalayan honeysuckle, but they now have their berries on them, which are just so beautiful. It's just been so fun to see this much activity this late in the season. I'm really enjoying it. And you know, we typically have a very short summer here because of how much rain we get. And it's just been like, I keep waiting to put the garden to sleep, and it just keeps blooming, which has just been phenomenal. So this is our butterfly garden, pollinator garden area. The change that we have invoked in the last month is we've removed our trellises that had sweet peas on them. They're done. And so now we're just enjoying what's here. We've got this geranium, which is just blooming like crazy. Absolutely beautiful. The creeping Jenny grew a good 18 inches from where it started. And the sedums are full of powdery mildew, but they do have a pretty seed head from far away. I have collected quite a few from this patch and dried them. The rest of them will just cut back, and as a matter of fact, it's too tall for this space. It should be bumped back or removed. So when I do cut them back, I'm gonna mark the area that they're in and make a decision about where we're going to move them. They cannot stay right here. It's just the wrong placement. Still have lots of cosmos. This is the perennial cosmos. Still putting on new buds all throughout. And then this vermillionaire. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, it's so pretty. We have one just as big, maybe a little taller in the front yard as well. And hummingbirds just love it. Even this low on the ground, we will see them because our living room window is right there. So we get to watch the pollinator activity on this all the time, which is why we have it placed right here. Panning over this direction, our hostas are quickly declining for the season, and we've got just a few little roses. Aren't those so sweet? You know, sprays coming more up there. Super fun. And if you've got any sense of this garden at all, you may be noticing there's something missing right here. And just take a backup view here. So a few days ago, we had a giant escallonia right there. And while I know it's missing, overall, when you look at the backyard, it doesn't look like there's something massive missing. And that tree shrub was huge. It was massive, and it is missing. And yet the layers in this garden are so good that I'm not missing the broken giant shrub back there. So yeah, this is what it looked like just a few days ago. And while it was a little bit hard to let go of that shrub, I'm not missing it at all. And I'm excited about what we're gonna get to plant out there now, what new adventure that space in my garden is gonna go through. I'm excited because it stimulates me to get creative and do something new and different in that space where we couldn't before. That shrub was just so huge and it blocked so much sunlight that even the spaces that were around it weren't conducive to growing anything. And now we get to do all kinds of fun things. We'll take a closer look at it in just a minute because we will be heading down into the lower garden and we can see that space better from there. All right, so the raised beds and pots are pretty much going to sleep at this point. We're just waiting for those perennials to fully die back and we'll mulch over them. We had some volunteer mushrooms. Do anybody know about mushrooms? What are these mushrooms? I don't know. They just cropped up this week, so there's those. I just haven't dealt with them. Over in these raised beds, we removed all of the wildflowers that were here and the annuals that were in the front of these beds, but we still have all these beautiful cannas creating so much fun texture for fall. And then we have this honeysuckle, which is just riddled with powdery mildew, and I'm so over it. We've cut it back, we've rejuvenated, pruned, we've given it new soil. We've done so many different things. This was here when we moved in, and I am just over it. Next year, we are gonna get rid of it and do something completely new in that space, which I'm very much looking forward to. And I think Spencer is too, because this thing always crawls up into this door and it's just kind of a pain. We still have black-eyed Susan vines blooming. Isn't that crazy? That's just wild to me. Again, the snapdragons, happy as can be with dozens of buds and a little bit of blooms. And then of course we've got the dahlia patch. Now, all these dahlias were grown by seed. These are all shooting star seeds from Floret Flower Farm. And we've been harvesting like crazy. We have had tons of bouquets, and they just keep coming on. As a matter of fact, this is the newest edition right here. Isn't that something else? They're so pretty. This is the same plant. They come out like this brownish bronzy color, and then they deepen into a darker pink. They're just gorgeous. And there's a really simple white one. It's missing a couple petals. Let's see, what else do we have? This one was my favorite of the year. It comes out like this, and then it ends up in more of a pincushion flower look, but these are, see, this is what happens usually in the rain. This like moldy yuckiness. There's a little sweet pink one, not my favorite, but colorful. This one's really beautiful. This one, oh, those colors are gorgeous. Another really beautiful simple white one. I like this little sweet one right here. We've got really vibrant magenta and this super full like lion's mane look. Another really bright purpley magenta one, and this one, oh, this is just adorable. I love it. More snapdragons blooming. More snapdragons blooming. This is It Gets Crazy. It's had 2 blooms so far. I'm hoping this one will open up just to have one last bloom. The greenhouse is pretty much empty. We've removed all the tomatoes minus this one, which I'm gonna harvest the seeds. The basil is done, and we've cut back the feverfew and the lemon verbena. We brought this in from the moon garden because the begonias were starting to show some cold sensitivity. And then we brought this glow-in-the-dark petunia in, and it just started blooming like crazy. So even though it's getting colder nights, because our door is wide open, we're not closing the greenhouse yet, is very much more happy in that protected space than it was out in the garden for most of the summer, actually. Okay. Moving along, we planted these evergreen clematis this year, and it got pretty far. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year. We planted up these pots earlier this year. Look at this columbine. It's huge. And then the hostas will die back in the winter, but happy plants. We've got kaffir lilies starting to open up and bloom back here. All this messy grass stuff is these kaffir lilies. Cut back my butterfly bush. Also, look at those 4-leaf clovers. They're insane. There's been 2 clover things, they're oxalis, for the entire summer.
Yeah, they came up here in June.
In June?
Yeah.
And there they still be, just 2.
Yeah, I had to rescue.
As happy as can be.
I had to rescue him from morning glory once.
And there are cyclamen blooming all in here. There's a white one with a purple tip. I think that one's, let's look down here. And there's purple ones back there. I think this is the white one with the purple tip. Okay, yeah. Isn't that sweet? And then we have purple ones back there. And there's a red one over here. Look at that. Wait, that's not a cyclamen, that's a begonia, isn't it? No. And then there's a patch of pure white over there. You were with me while I cut, oh, the sunshine. Okay, let's go over here. You were with me while we cut back and tamed the raspberries. And this bed has been empty minus our a little bit of chard still left in there. and the honeysuckle finally stopped blooming. I mean, this thing went wild this year. It's beautiful. And we planted this Temple of Bloom this spring, and it is starting to get its fall like blush, but it's also starting to fully defoliate. It had some sweet little flowers just on this one branch because this is a brand new baby, so giving it some time. Snapdragons are pretty much done over here. There's one random run right there. It's kind of funny. Okay, back here. We've done a whole bunch of cleanup back here in the last month or so. We took you with us in our journey of cleaning out our shed and behind the potting shed area. And then we have consolidated all of our compost. So we have pretty much finished compost there, working compost pile here, and we started making all these piles of branches and woody debris. We chipped a whole ton, I should say Spencer chipped a whole ton, and that's what you see on the top of that finished compost is chipped woody debris. And then we used a whole bunch of the large wood to create stakes in our dead hedge, and we'll just continue consolidating these woody debris areas into dead hedges now that we have implemented one. I know we're going to implement more because they are so much more easy to maintain and aesthetically pleasing than just big piles of debris. So really happy that we embraced the dead hedge culture. All right, what else do we have going on? We've got our rain chain tree that does get yellow fall color, but it's just starting to do that. And we have our Vigella, which also gets a really beautiful like autumn fall, kind of like a orangey chartreuse fall color. And we have some asters blooming, not as prolifically as they were a couple of weeks ago, but they're still here, they're still blooming, which is kind of fun. Let's go ahead and go on down here to the lower garden. Thanks. Okay. So now you can see where we had our whole Escallonia. It's gone. It's totally gone. Like this whole open space now, which is just super crazy. And what that means is I'm gonna plant a couple of trees up here that I already have, they're babies. And this lilac that has this big arm, we're gonna leave it for this year, let it bloom next year. We're hoping that the baby canes will get strong and we could cut back that big one and let the small babies rejuvenate and take over. Because now that the Escallonia is gone, you can really see that, and it's kind of goofy looking. We do have some piles of debris still left from the Escallonia project, but we'll get to them, as well as all these ferns that have been kind of trampled because of the project. It's time to cut them back anyways. We don't always cut our ferns back in the fall, but we can, and so we will cut them all down. All of these anyways we'll cut down this fall, and they'll just come back in the spring. And then this is kind of a new area this year, that little opening up into the moon garden. So now that the Escallonia is gone and the gates there, we can rework exactly how we want our stepping path to the lower garden to be from that gate. All right, since we're walking towards the sun, I'm actually going to go to the other side of the lower garden and walk back to where we just were, just so that we can have a better picture. Okay, so we are starting at the entryway to what will now be referred to as our poison garden, which we've been working on diligently over the last few months. And you can see here our dead hedge, which needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but all that escallonia, aside for some of the wood that got chipped, it's all in this little hedge, which is kind of fun. And definitely, I think, prettier than just like a big pile that's falling all over itself. Not a ton to see in this garden right now, except there is a random foxglove blooming.
What the heck?
Why, I don't know. And the monk's hood is blooming. And now you can see those little hood flowers. I don't think they were blooming the last time we were here. And then across from there, we do have red berries on our pittosporum. Pittosporum? I don't like say that word. Yeah. And then, interestingly enough, only the snowberry that got transplanted has snowberries on it this year. But lots of little snowberries. The hydrangea that we planted is looking great, super happy. And the crabapple has its fall colors. What else? This hydrangea is finally done kind of blooming at this point. We do have some still blooming right here. The gunnera has succumbed to its falling, and it's time to cut that back. Better than some years though, because like these leaves are still pretty full compared to sometimes these tears are actually from the birch tree above us right there. It drops little twigs and pokes holes in this. All right, so now we're in the mermaid garden. We've got a hosta here looking fantastic, which is so fun because we've had hostas right here and right here that have failed. So to have this one survive and still looking this good this late in the season is amazing. Impatiens, again, looking stunning. And of course, a ton of leaf drop that needs to get dealt with. And then everything else is just kind of just green and, you know, doing its thing. I don't know. And then this is, again, my favorite view of the Himalayan honeysuckle, where you can see all those blossoms dangling. I will never not show this. It's my favorite thing in the world. Okay, it's my favorite thing in this garden. It's like one of the things that sold me on this house was this shrub right here. And then the transplants that we put out here just a few months ago, the blue moon, was it Moonglow juniper, took really well, as did the tuxedo. Vagella looks great. And then across from there we have our prime lime light, I don't know, whatever. The hydrangea, the panicle hydrangea.
Limelight.
Limelight prime.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Yeah, sure, you bet. That's what they call it.
These are second year in the ground, and they were just pint sized when we planted them, so doing really well. This one is clearly blooming in several places, but the second one over is also blooming. We had a bloom on that one this year as well, so awesome. Things are doing well. All right, that is going to be it for our backyard and lower garden tour for October. And I'm really excited to actually go back and look at our October tour of last year, because I'm positive we did not have so many things blooming and looking this beautiful this late in the season. So if you want, you can do that as well. And we have all of our home garden tours linked in the playlist called Home Garden Tours. And you can check out all of our garden tours throughout the seasons. And I hope that for now you're celebrating your life, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.